Yasu guys, Nikolaki and Antonaki here, and in this video we're going to be cooking pork souvlaki. If you think that rhyme was good, wait until you see how easy and good this souvlaki are going to turn out.
For this souvlaki recipe, we're going to be using 2 kilos of pork, and we're using 2 different cuts of pork. For our first cut, we're using 1 kilo of pork neck. We like to use this cut for its tenderness and fat content. This is a common cut for pork souvlaki. And our second cut is 1 kilo of pork belly with the skin removed. We like to use this cut for its fat to meat ratio. This will keep our souvlaki nice and moist. Let's start dicing.
The first thing that we're going to do is cut our pork neck into thin steak-sized slices. So we're just going to continue cutting the whole way through. It's almost in 1 inch thickness. And as you can see, as we continue to cut this, there's a very good fat content through this meat. I know we've referenced fat a lot, but it's very important with this style of cooking. The next thing we're going to do is slice these pieces into long strips, again about 1 inch wide. So Antoni, do you want to pick this one up and show it to us? It's not exactly symmetrical, but it's a nice strip. And then we're going to go ahead and cube them. And let's see a piece, Ant. That's the kind of size you want. So we're going about 1 inch cubes there. Now we just continue all the way through. And during this cutting process, it's a very good time to go pour yourself a tiporaki or a bit of wine and just slowly go through the process, have a few drinks and enjoy.
We've diced up our pork neck, we'll put it to the side in the dish. Let's get on to the pork belly.
So this one's obviously a lot easier to cut due to its shape and thickness. Again, Anthony's just going to slice down into long, thin strips. Look at that beautiful fat. Donnie, I'm starving already there. And now we're just going to cube them up again. Exactly like we did with the pork neck. Keeping everything as consistent as possible in size. And we just work our way all the way through. All right, now that we've got all our pork cut up, set aside, the next step is to get started with the marinade. So we'll go ahead with our mortar and pestle and add some spices inside. The first thing we're going to do is crush up 2 grams of black peppercorn. So we'll pop that in and give that a bit of a mix. And the reason we do the pepper first is because it's a small amount. We want to ensure that it definitely gets crushed correctly. Whereas if we started with the salt, we might not entirely crush this pepper correctly. Beautiful. So that's a good consistency now. The pepper's fine. I'm going to go ahead and add in our salt. We've got 24 grams of sea salt. So we're going with a 12 grams per kilo ratio on the salt. And the pepper was 1 gram per kilo. So we're going to mix this all up together. Alright, so that's all crushed up nicely. The last 2 things we're going to add into here is 2 teaspoons of oregano. So just throw that in. And we've got 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. Add that inside as well. And we'll just combine all this together nicely. Come have a smell of this. Tell me what you reckon.
Oh, that's wild.
That smells beautiful.
Oh, it smells perfect.
So now that we've crushed all that up together, I'm just going to move this aside and bring the pork front and center. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do to this pork here is we're going to put 50 ml of sunflower oil over it. This is just to help keep it moist again. Now we're purposely not using olive oil. The reason for this is because we don't want the flavor to come through. The sunflower oil has a neutral flavor. It doesn't give off any flavor, does it, on there? All we're trying to get here is the moisture and to help keep it juicy again. We love our souvlaki really juicy.
Alright, Nico, while you're massaging, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard.
Keep massaging while he's putting it. So we want to massage this very well. We want the mustard everywhere, over every piece. And we want the oil evenly distributed throughout. Now while I'm massaging, Antoni's going to start hitting it up with the salt and pepper mix. And we're just going to continually turn and massage and keep adding our blend in. There's no rush when doing this. We love to take our time, make sure everything's done properly. So now that this is massaging very well, we're going to set this aside and we're going to leave it for 2 hours at room temperature. Because it's not too hot, we can do that. If it was very hot though, we'll pop it in the fridge. Feel free to leave it overnight even if you like. But always make sure that you take them out and bring them back to room temperature before you pop it onto the charcoal.
So we've lit the charcoal. Like always, we use cotton wool and methylated spirits. It gives it a clean burn. There's no smoke. And it's really easy. In about 40 minutes, we should be ready to cook. Now that the charcoal's on, it's time to make our souvlakia. Whenever doing souvlakia with bamboo skewers, make sure you soak them in water for at least half an hour, just so they don't burn. We start off first with a piece of pork belly, and then we'll get a piece of pork neck. Back again with a piece of pork belly.
So as you can see with our souvlaki stick, we've got roughly 4 fingers before we start any of the meat. We start off always with a piece of fat and end with a piece of fat. We want to always keep it evenly distributed as well, the fat to meat ratio, and try to always put the same size pieces on. If you've done a correct job while cutting, you shouldn't have any issues with this. As you can see, this is pretty symmetrical and it's going to help ensure us an even cook. Out of the 2 kilos, we've got a total of 14 souvlakia.
Now that the charcoal's ready, we just spread it evenly across the bed.
So unlike other times, we haven't ashed our charcoal because when you cook souvlakia, you want a strong heat. So when you put the souvlakia sticks onto the grill, you want to butt them all up next to each other. It helps keep moisture and also just helps keep them sturdy together. Now we're going to leave them on their one side for about 3 minutes. We'll then rotate them 180 degrees. To avoid them sticking, Anthony's just going to lift them up a little bit just so they separate from the grate a little. If you keep your hands right on this grate now, it's almost unbearable. That's the kind of intensity that we've got going on at the moment. So we're turning them over 180 degrees. And as you can see, they've really got a really nice colour. This here is a different marinade that we've done. We thought we'll just try something different out. A test for a future video. So now what we're doing, we're turning it 90 degrees. And not only is it much easier to eat when you have a substantial amount of a skewer available for you to grab onto, it's also so much easier when you're cooking to be able to turn them instead of using tongs. And now we're going to flip it 180 degrees on the last surface of the souvlaki. Always keeping them butt up to each other. Have a look at that. The colour's forming nicely on all sides. You can see the fat rendering a little bit. It's going to be juicy, tender, contains so much moisture. This is one of our favourite recipes. And we're giving it another turn again. We're just going down 90 degrees. We've hit all sides, and now all we're doing is giving them all a final colour, and then they'll be ready to eat. When cooking souvlaki, you always want to keep an eye on it. The head cook always has to just make sure everything's cooked evenly, because unlike on the souvla, where it's continuously rotating, you have to continually maintain this yourself. But it's very easy. Another turn, and as you can see that colour, these are pretty much ready. This is looking absolutely beautiful. Look at that. We love doing this. It's Sunday. It's raining outside. We're chilling. About to eat some good food, good company. That's what it's all about. Hey, Anthony.
Bloody oath, mate.
Bloody oath. Uncle says.
You got a final turn, mate, and these are ready to come off.
Beautiful. I'm getting hungry, Anthony.
Oh, gotta take my toes off. Alright guys, our souvlaki are ready. They took a total of about, was it 20 minutes? They each got the same amount of time on every side of the souvlaki. All we're going to do now is put a bit of lemon on top and give it a try. Anthony?
Yeah, hello.
Alright, try it with the bread. Well, but this tastes so good. Man,
That's killer.
that is so good. So easy. They're that moist, juicy. You gotta give it a shot. Like always though, if you want to be a manga,
You gotta cook like a manga.